Let's go.
Mountaineer.
All right. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that very much. I'm always happy to see my fellow Mountaineers, former Mountaineers, here when we come to the passing of the rifle ceremony, although just a tad sad tonight. I love Mary, but the person that was supposed to introduce me was my daughter, so I'm a little sad about that. She's under the weather. She's feeling a little better. Her mother's taking care of her. So, this is 20,000 foot view, history of the Mountaineer. And I don't want to step on Timmy or Michael's feet. So there's a lot we probably would all say the same because our experiences and the way that we view this, the history, the role, the meaning of the Mountaineer, they all intertwine. But I'm going to do my best to kind of just focus on the history of the Mountaineer, the position, the people that have served in this role. Just to give you a little bit of background. A lot of you people probably already heard this stuff and know these things, but a lot of you probably wouldn't. You might even learn a little something new if you did know a lot of this stuff. First off, when we talk about the history, this is not the 25th passing of the rifle ceremony, but it's been 25 years since the first passing of the rifle ceremony back in 2000. That was my last year as a Mountaineer, and I was the outgoing Mountaineer, and lucky enough to serve 2 years as the Mountaineer. But that was a big difference from 2 years before that, when there was no passing of the rifle ceremony. I'll tell you a little bit about that ceremony. We didn't have anything going on here at the Mountaineer. We didn't have big ceremony, PowerPoints, speakers. Andy Coder, who was a Mountaineer before me, lived just up the street from me. So that Friday before the Blue Gold game, I drove up to his house. We walked outside. He handed me the gun, showed me a little bit how to shoot it, how to clean it, gave me everything, and I was on my way. That was a passing of the rifle. Not a lot of pomp and circumstance. So I'm really enjoying these events. This is a really good time to celebrate not just the history of the Mountaineer and the traditions, but the individual, particularly the outgoing Mountaineer, Braden, and to get to know and welcome the new incoming Mountaineer here today, Kate. So that's just a short little history of the passing of the rifle ceremony. So where do we start here? Lots of places we get to start. We go before the Civil War. Were people here in West Virginia, we had Mountaineers in what was Western Virginia? Absolutely, for a long time. Many rugged individuals lived in that western part of Virginia. Much different than that eastern part, the Piedmont, the coast. Different kind of person living across and in those mountains. Those hardy, independent, self-reliant individuals, proud. That's what was there. They were always there. Obviously, the Civil War came around, and what happened? A little bit of a division. We get West Virginia, really right along those mountains. There's Allegheny Mountains, Blue Ridge. If you look over in Virginia, you've got that nice Blue Ridge Valley going up through there, the Blue Ridge Mountains. And then you hit that Allegheny Plateau, and you got the mountains. Tough place to live. Our history, you go around north or south of West Virginia, but not a lot coming through West Virginia. So the people that were there had to take care of themselves. They had to know how to do that. Those Mountaineers, the men and the women that lived and populated that area, they were tough people. June 20th, 1863. It's an important date in West Virginia. That was the date our state was founded. Anybody know what February 7th, 1867? What day? WVU Day, that's right. Day WVU was founded. It's also an important date. We could look at that as an important date in the Mountaineer history. But we weren't the Mountaineers to begin with. We were the Snakes, or the Snakers initially. Figure out that one and what that would look like today if we had to don that outfit. I guess those wouldn't be buckskins, it'd be snakeskins maybe, I don't know what. But that'd be a lot different mascot. But around 1915, the university officially adopted the Mountaineer as its mascot. And it made a lot of sense. It embodied the people of West Virginia, our history and our traditions, and we'll talk about just here in a second. And in 1934, while there were individuals who served as a Mountaineer maybe in a more unofficial, informal capacity, 1934 was the first officially selected Mountaineer, Lawson Hill. And Mountain becomes involved in the selection process at that point. What is the Mountaineer? Like we said, obviously, Mountaineer is a mascot. He or she attends our athletic events, football games, basketball games, and many, many other athletic events that people probably don't think about. But I'm sure Braden and everyone else here probably sat through soccer games. Probably didn't sit. They probably stayed on their feet cheering through soccer games, gymnastics meets, wrestling matches, swimming and diving meets. I went to a rifle match. Didn't get to shoot the gun on that occasion, but university events, alumni events, public appearances for schools, organizations, charities. Going to elementary, middle schools those are some of the best memories I had as the Mountaineer. The position has evolved over time from just being a mascot on the sideline at a football game, cheering along with the cheerleaders, to being an icon, a role model, the symbol of our state. Embodies those qualities of the ideal or the true Mountaineer, being honest, stalwart, trustworthy, having integrity, self-reliant, independent, but also being willing to help, being a friend. That's what the Mountaineer is. And it's changed over the years. As I said, initially, athletic events, but nowadays, I know when I was a Mountaineer in 1998 and 1999, both of those years, I did a couple of hundred appearances total between sports and schools and Boy Scouts and 4-H clubs and charity 5Ks, shooting the gun to start parades, to now they're doing 300-400 a year. I can imagine. I didn't have a personal planner schedule. Would I get the wrong? I wish I did, but I didn't. But it's changed a lot. What else has changed? Well, in the early days, the Mountaineer didn't look like, Braden, stand up. We didn't look like this. It looked almost more like a lumberjack. Denim, flannel, maybe a vest, coonskin's there, some boots. This is Lawson Hill. This was the first official Mountaineer. This is Slim Arnold. Slim, obviously almost bigger than the horse, was a big man. I had the opportunity to meet him. I think it was actually the Mountaineer when he passed away. He was the first multi-year Mountaineer. He was a Mountaineer for 3 years, I believe, from 1937 to 39. And then they instituted, well, they didn't really institute a rule, but after Slim, for the most part, every Mountaineer just served one term. That happened through the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, all the way up until 1991. When an individual by the name of Rock Wilson, who many people will remember, he's really, when I talk about the Mountaineer being an icon, Rock was the Mountaineer I remember being a kid, the one that I thought about when I saw him. I'd like to do that. But again, the outfit hadn't really developed yet. But it did change over time until we get our modern look. Old Timmy, I had to throw him in here since you're going to see him here speak in a minute. With the buckskins, the rifle, the coonskin cap, the powder horn, the possible pouch. Why is it called a possible pouch? Because you can put everything possible in it. Cell phones, keys, pins, postcards, caps, measuring powder measures, all kinds of things. You can fit it all in there. And there's Jonathan. And Jonathan, I think, may have been one of the first ones that kind of started carrying the knife on their possible pouch. So we went from here to this, the modern look of the Mountaineer. Some Mountaineers wear their hats, some don't. That's been more of a recent trend. I think for the most of the time, almost full time wearing the hat. I didn't like to wear the hat. I didn't think it looked good on my head. It kind of made it look weird. It looks weird already, so I didn't want to make it look any weirder. As I said, Rock was the Mountaineer in 1991, and he served 3 years. The second Mountaineer, and only two, have served 3 years, Slim and Rock. After Rock served his 3 years, they instituted what we call the Rock-Wilson rule, where he could only serve a maximum of 2 years. If that rule hadn't been instituted, Rock would still be the Mountaineer today. Absolutely no doubt. And then just probably maybe about 10 years ago, that changed so that the Mountaineer can only serve 1 term. So who are we? Who are we? Well, over 70 individuals have served in an official and unofficial capacity. Now with Cade, 71 official Mountaineers. We've had mostly West Virginians, but we've had a few out-of-state students that have earned the position and the honor, distinction to be called the Mountaineer. We've had 3 women. And after their time and their service as a Mountaineer, these individuals have went on to be professionals, leaders, doctors, lawyers, nurses, educators, engineers. What all we got? People involved in higher education. You name it, they're probably in there. And we talk about leaders. We've had one former Mountaineer, Julius Singleton, was Mountaineer 46, I believe. Went on to be Speaker of the West Virginia House of Delegates. We've had Natalie Tennant, who was Secretary of State. So we've had statewide leaders, local leaders, serving important roles. As I said, we've had 3 women. It was never controversial. Nobody ever said anything wrong or bad about any woman that ever became a Mountaineer, did they? Ever. No. Of course they did. Natalie was the first to be named the Mountaineer in 1991, the first woman. She kind of broke that glass ceiling. And then in 2009, Rebecca Durst became the second. And then just here a few years ago, Mary, spoke to you a little bit ago, became the third. I'll talk about the Mountaineer selection process here in a minute, but this is what I will tell you, and this is my personal experience, that the best person will come through that process. It is a tough, grueling selection process meant to find the best person. Doesn't mean the other people might not be great candidates as well. But I'm going to tell you, the person, the man or the woman that's up there, they deserve it. And, it's not like all kinds of people have lived in West Virginia over the years. Men, women, all different races, backgrounds. So we're all Mountaineers here in West Virginia. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman, whether you have a beard or you don't have a beard. So I always like to throw this one in here. William McPherson was the Mountaineer in 1960, and he went on to become an officer in the United States Army. And in 1965, he was killed in action in Vietnam. And that's his name at the Vietnam War Memorial in Vietnam Veterans War Memorial in Washington, D.C. At the wall. And I think it's just always important to note that ultimate sacrifice that this Mountaineer made for his country. If you look out here in the Vandalia Lounge, in the display case, those are his buckskins that are in that display case. Mountaineers, as I said, we've come from all over the place. We've come from West Virginia, we've come from out of state. Now, this isn't a scientific survey. This is my best reading of looking at our list and where people are from, and I may have missed a county or two, but at least 30 counties are represented by Mountaineers from all over the state, except the very southern part. You guys aware of any that I missed from those areas? So that's pretty good. when you think there's been just over 70 and 30 at least counties have been represented. Now, obviously, there have been multiple Mountaineers from several of these counties, and at least 3 from Marion, several from Mon. I'm from Raleigh County. We've had at least 3 Mountaineers, and I know of at least 2 high schools that have had multiple Mountaineers, including mine, which was Independence High School down in Coal City, West Virginia, and North Marion High School in Marion County, up in Rachel. I'm sure there might be 1 or 2 others that I'm not aware of, but just gives you an idea. And it's from both panhandles, and then all over, the coal fields, the Central, the Ohio Valley, from all over. And the selection process. What's it take to become a Mountaineer? Well, as it's evolved over time, there's a couple of things. First, you got to be a full-time graduate or undergraduate student and have a 2.5 GPA. You don't have to be a man. You don't have to have a beard, which I think people still think you have to have a beard, but that's not required. But what does it take to become a person that's named the Mountaineer? As I said earlier, it's a tough, grueling process. There's 3 stages to that. There's an application, which at first doesn't seem like a big thing, but when you start reading it and you have to write 5 essays about different things, about yourself, about the Mountaineer, you envision the Mountaineer as the role, the meaning, boy, you really got to start thinking. That's tough. But the toughest thing I've ever done in my life was that interview. I walked into that alumni association, in that conference room, into a room with 12 individuals seated around the conference table. And they made me walk all the way to the very end of that table and sit down. I saw 2 faces in there that I recognized. Not that I knew, but that I recognized. And then for the next half hour, they proceeded to go around one at a time and ask me whatever. I had no idea what they were going to ask me. It was the most stressful interview process I've ever been in. I've interviewed for a lot of jobs in my life and some pretty significant, I think, positions. This was the toughest. It prepared me well for those things, but it also is set up for that because you want to find the right person for this position. And if you make it through that interview, number one, that says a lot about you as an individual, your character, your personality traits. But if you make it through that interview and you get to go to that cheer off, there is nothing like going to that basketball game, being handed a set of buckskins and that gun, and just told, there you go. For the next 10, 20 minutes of a basketball game, you are the Mountaineer. It's the first time you get to do it. Might be the only time you get to do it. That experience was just an absolute, one of those, I suppose, what was it from the Disney movie, Core Memory, I guess. Going out, and for me it was in 1998, Sweet 16 basketball team. And this was the Yukon game, if people remember that. Packed, sold out, ESPN, prime time. And I got to be the Mountaineer in the first half of that game. It was absolutely awesome. And then the next basketball game, you learn your fate and that if you get to become the Mountaineer or not. And as you see from here, these are some pictures of the recent ones, as well as a really old one there. I don't know who that guy is up there. Has a lot more brown hair than he does today. But you can see the excitement in these individuals' eyes. Trevor, Michael, Kay, Mary, Troy. I was excited. But I had to shake Andy's hand. So, it's a tough process. Just for the people that don't really understand what you have to go through for that. And the waiting between each stage, this takes about a month and a half to go through this whole process. But I will tell you, at the end of it, you're going to get the right person for the job. Every person that's went through that has deserved it, and in my estimation, has acquitted themselves very well in their year or 2 or 3 years in that capacity as the Mountaineer. And that kind of leads me, just a couple more things before I wrap up. I would be remiss if I didn't mention in the history of the Mountaineer an important person and really a legacy family that's been involved here, and that's the Watering family. Marvin Watering was the mounted gunsmith, started in the mid-70s, started making the rifle, even made the buckskins for a while, and for 40 years made our rifles, made many of them, made Mark several because Mark liked to break them. He was such a mentor to each and every one of us. And after his passing, that mantle passed to his son Gene, who now makes the rifle, continues that tradition. And we're very thankful to continue to have that here. So, and I'm also going to mention Sonja. She's back there. Where is she? Sonja. There she is. Sonja Wilson, who has spent many, many years helping all of us Mountaineers. So they're very important in our history, scheduling, giving us advice, being there to talk to. Sonja's the best, so thank you, Sonja. Last thing that I'm going to say is what this really is, it's family. When you become the Mountaineer, you are brought into this very, very select group of individuals, and we really do care about each other. We talk regularly on our super secret Facebook group, or our texts. We talk to each other on a regular basis. We're friends. We get together every 5 years. We have a reunion. That's what these pictures are. The top and bottom are our most recent one. And that's what Braden has become a part of, and that's what Cade now has the privilege and the honor and distinction of being part of. And to tell you what this means to us, just those of us that are the Mountaineer and have served in this capacity, and when we get together, what it means, I want you to just get a feel for the emotion. Pay no attention to our singing voices and whether they're good or not. But this is what this means to be part of this family. I hear her voice in the morning hours, she calling, radio reminds me of my home far away. Driving down the road, I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. When? All right. With that, I'm going to get off here. Braden, thank you very much for your year of service, really two. You spent a year as the alternate, and that's when I got to meet you. Thank you very much. You have done a great job. I wish you the best in the future. Kate, good luck. Happy to see another guy from down south. Another one, along with Braden, put on these buckskins. And I wish you nothing but the best, and let's go Mountaineers.